Hello and welcome to the podcast series Anecdotes of Digital Humanities. This is part 1 of the second episode. So let's get started. This video consists of some interviews of the postgraduate and PhD students of digital humanities. But before we begin, I want to tell you that digital humanities is like an umbrella term which covers different areas. So, till now, we don't have any concrete definition of digital humanities. So, in this video, we will ask DH students their views on the definition of digital humanities and if there is any concrete definition possible for digital humanities. So, Samo, what do you think the
Yes.
definition of DH would be for you? Or we can say the generalized definition if possible. So, what's your point on that?
Okay. First, you said that what would be definition of DH for me, and then you said what would be the generalized definition for DH. So, first, I would like to point out that there is a conflict between both the statements you made. I'm just making fun of you, so please don't take me seriously. Uh, okay, coming to your question once again. Uh, Definition of DH. Any definition of DH that we try to make is gonna end up inevitably being our definition of DH, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I would say that very simply put, and simple to the extent of being reductivist, I would say that digital humanities is basically inquiry situated at the intersection of the digital and the human. But when we talk about inquiry situated at the intersection of the digital and the human, there are a lot of questions that emerge. We can look at human problems using digital tools, or we can look at digital tools with a humanistic inquiry, and vice versa. So I think in digital humanities, what becomes most important is what you're looking at and from which perspective are you looking at it. I would say that this for me becomes the essence of DH, that there cannot be one DH. There has to be digital humanities is a plural term, because the way a data scientist would teach a course in DH and the
Mhm.
way a literary studies scholar would teach DH would be fundamentally different. So yeah, this is what I would say.
Yeah.
And it isn't a definition of DH isn't supposed to give you any clarity. I would also say that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Samo. Thank you for the lovely views. So, moving on to Vasundhara. Vasundhara, what is your understanding of digital humanities?
See, DH to me, coming from a tech background, is looking at technology through a humanistic lens, be it social, philosophical, or psychological. The motivations and approaches to build digital spaces and tools, I believe, come from a very objective, if not linear, understanding. Since even objectivity in sciences is popularly dependent on male perspectives, I have felt a big gap in how we traverse our way to design and consume the digital spaces. As now more so, the social technical systems are on the rise, like from a simple video recommendation to an automated screening of resumes. I believe it becomes necessary, and it is necessary, to approach these systems not from a statistical or an objective angle, but a social context too. And that is that I noticed in my undergraduate and postgraduate years, which is why I think I perceive DH as a site where I can question and address such dynamics. The DH that I understand helps me contextualize what data a system or algorithm is using, how is it being built, and how is it being implemented. We can also take this further to understand how these systems affect us back and what is the impact of the algorithm and the data. And using these insights to design better and responsible technologies is, of course, an extended and necessary benefit. So that is my DH.
Thank you, Vasundhara, for the answer. So, now I want to ask one more question. Like, is there any possibility to give a general definition for digital humanities?
No, I disagree. I don't believe that DH can have a general definition. And I'll tell you why, because I feel this definition comes from our perspective, with which actually is what makes DH such a rich field. Even I don't have a definition of DH for myself. Like, because, like, for example, if I'm looking at an algorithmic system, I have to look at it both as a creator and a consumer. But to study its impact on people and the role of people in it, I need to look at it with a technical perspective and by my own social positionality. So, of course, the perspective will vary if it's being inspected by a sociologist or a philosopher or an anthropologist. So, see, that's why with such diverse arenas, there can't really be a general definition. Having said that, I would like to say that I, for one, am more interested in the methodologies with which one can approach DH, with which we study the humans and digital in here. So I can either study people in and through the digital, or I can also use digital itself as a site of inquiry. So the approaches with which I would define a problem and then study it, or so the DH scholars will, I think that will change the definition of DH. That is what will drive their definition of DH.
Thank you, Vasundhara. Now, next, moving on to anesthesia. So, anesthesia is from University College of London. So, welcome, anesthesia. So,
Thank you.
anesthesia, the first question which I would like to ask you is, what is the definition of DH according to you? And is there any possibility to give a concrete definition of digital humanities? For example, in sciences, we give a specific definition, right? So, is there any possibility in digital humanities as well?
Okay, so first I will define it the way I see it. So for me, digital humanities is basically programming within the humanities. So I think DH basically gives the tools for other fields, programming tools to make the research easier, better, and maybe to come to better openings and new ways of studying things. And as for your second question, I'm well, it's been a while that DGH been around and there's no concrete definition still, so that is very interesting. And I feel like it would be easier for the field if there was one concrete definition. And I know many scholars they still argue about it, and it's very difficult because it's a developing field and not many people agree on what actually that means. But I think it is possible to come up with one concrete definition, and I think people should do it and we should stick to it. And then maybe add some other things, that we think might be just like making it more understandable what exactly it means.
Thank you, Anastasia.